Hey guys, Metallica Lloyd 28 here again, doing another video on the Mets offseason for 2014. In my last video, I was talking about the recent signing of Curtis Granderson for the 4-year, $60 million contract he received from the Mets a couple days ago. But now we have more news. One of my predictions I made from actually my last video came true. The Mets actually did sign starting pitcher Bartolo Colon. It wasn't for the deal I said he was going to get. I was looking more like a 1-year, $6 million deal. This guy got 2 years, $20 million. A 40-year-old pitcher got 2 years, $20 million from the Mets. I mean, now when you just say that sentence, you say, what the hell are the Mets thinking about? You know what? This is actually one of the best moves the Mets have made in recent years. Because, one, it's a pitcher. The Mets make horrible deals for pitchers. Okay? We all know that. And two, this guy won 18 games last year with a 2.35 ERA in the American League for Oakland. Okay? In the American League West. Let's put it... Okay? That's a pretty good division. So the Mets adding him, he can replace Matt Harvey. I can actually say that. He's not going to be, obviously, the flashy young guy who's going to strike out a lot, but he can replace Matt Harvey as the ace of the Mets for next year only. And that's what the Mets needed. If 2015 is a concern because of the second year, they can always trade the guy because they're not going to need him by then. So this is essentially really just a 1-year, $10 million deal if you really think about it. But anyway, the winter meetings, the grade I give the Mets has to be an A-. It would have been an A if they had traded Ike Davis for something in return, whether that was a shortstop or relievers from the bullpen that they're going to need, or maybe even possibly another bat in the outfield. I would have given this an A, okay? But I'm going to give it an A-. They still did a great job bringing over former Yankees, basically. Curtis Granderson, Bartolo Colon. Holy shit. If you told me a couple weeks ago the Mets were going to do that, I would have slapped you in the fucking face and just laughed. I would have been like, what? That's not going to happen, but it happened. So now, the Mets adjusted payroll, you know, with accounting of filling the roster at the $500,000 major league minimum, is roughly right now to be $82 million is their payroll. Okay. That's a little alarming because, you know, everyone knows that the Mets payroll is going to be a little over $85 to $87 million. That's what Sandy Alderson has said, the Mets GM. So they don't really have that much wiggle room left after those two huge signings, but there's still stuff that can possibly happen, and I'm going to explain it in this video how on earth the Mets can make this happen. As of right now, if I had to say how many wins the Mets can have with this team, I believe with this team, just on paper, just this team, no other signings at all, the Mets can win, I'd say 80 to 82 games. That's it. They have still work to do. They're not done. They have work to do. It's just what it is. The Mets still have a hole at shortstop. They have a logjam at first base. They have an uncertainty at second base with Murphy. They have an uncertainty in the leadoff position. They have uncertainty in the bullpen. I don't know if I should have said that already. They have uncertainty in the back end of the rotation. So there's a lot of things that have to happen. Some of those uncertainties are weighted more than others. I would say the biggest uncertainty is shortstop for sure. I mean, who the fuck is going to play shortstop? I hope. I'm praying to God it's not Ruben Tejada because I am not going to go see the Mets. Even with Granderson Colon, I'm not going to see the Mets next year if Tejada's at shortstop. I guarantee you that. I'm not doing it. I can't do it. I'd rather see Omar Quintanilla, to be honest, at this point. So, what do the Mets do at shortstop? It seems like they're not going to go out and sign another big free agent like Stephen Drew. And, frankly, I don't want them to sign Stephen Drew. What is he going to do? Where is he going to hit in the lineup if they sign Stephen Drew? 8th? 2nd? Come on. You're going to spend over $10 million a year on a guy that's going to hit 8th or 2nd? No. And the reason why you may be like, well, 2nd is a pretty big deal. Yeah, but we have guys that can already hit 2nd in the lineup. We have Daniel Murphy. We have Eric Young Jr. We even have Chris Young, for God's sakes, who can bat 2nd in the lineup. We don't need a 2nd place hitter. We need, or an 8th place hitter. No. Fuck you. Fuck Stephen Drew. Do not sign him. Trade for a shortstop. Okay? And right now, there's a couple guys that come to my mind. There's J.J. Hardy from Baltimore. There's Didi Gregorius in Arizona. There's the one I'm going to pick, Asdrubal Cabrera from Cleveland. There's, you know, if you want to go a little cornier, there's Jed Lowry from Oakland, which is possible because Oakland's been making like 1 billion trades this year. I mean, Billy Beane is on a roll right now. He just made another trade today. I can't really confirm with you guys what trade it is unless I look it up right now. Actually, yeah, let me look it up right now and tell you what trade the Oakland A's just did. Um, the Oakland A's. Let's see. They traded. Dun 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 dun. Let me see. I'm sorry, guys. Just give me 1 second. I'm trying to see what the Oakland A's traded for today now, because they are just going at it. Okay. The Orioles traded away their reliever Jeremy Blevins to Washington for an outfield prospect Billy Burns. Okay, this is not a big deal, but it is another deal. Is my point. So Oakland is in the mood to probably add guys and throw away guys. Clearly, they've done that. They threw away guys, they added guys. They threw away Jamil Weeks, they added Jim Johnson. You know, they threw away Seth Smith, they added Luke Gregerson. You know, they just threw away Jeremy Blevins, they added an outfield prospect. Blah 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 blah. They let Colon walk away. I mean, the Mets just got him. So, but my point aside, this is how I think the Mets should do it. Now with Colon intact, he can essentially be your number one guy. Then Wheeler 2, Nice 3, G4, and then 5 would most likely be Henry Mejia. Let's just be honest, which is great. That's a great rotation. That's arguably one of the best rotations in the National League by far. I mean, you can put him up there with St. Louis, Los Angeles. You know, that rotation is arguably the second best rotation in the NL East behind Washington, because they're not better than Washington. I mean, they still got a guy in Steven Strasburg. They have Gio Gonzalez. They have Ross Detweiler. They have Jordan Zimmerman. I know they just lost Dan Herron, but who cares? Dan Herron didn't really have that great a year. So, it's not Atlanta. Atlanta just lost Tim Hudson, okay? They don't have Tommy Hanson, obviously, anymore from last year. So, their rotations, and Paul Mulholland's a free agent. So, their rotation has a lot of question marks. The Mets rotation clearly is head over heels above Atlanta. Destroys Miami's rotation. Is better than the Phillies rotation. They don't got Doc Halladay. He retired. So the Mets are in a really good spot right now in terms of pitching. So what do you do now? You trade the damn pitching. I know that sounds a little crazy, but you just got Colon. You want a shortstop, right? You don't want an itty-bitty shortstop either. You want a shortstop that is going to grab headlines. Well, what's your cheapest option with that? A guy that's high profile enough to be in the Mets middle of the part of the lineup? That man is Asdrubal Cabrera. Now, I know he's been trending the wrong way. He's not the guy that hit, you know, the bombs he hit back in, I think, in 2011, I believe it was. But this guy can still hit. This guy's still a lot of improvement needed for defense. But right now, the Mets defense is not a priority for the Mets right now. They need some damn offense. Okay, they really do. And they have all the defense they need in David Wright. I mean, come on. And then in the outfield, Jesus Lord. That has to be one of the best defensive outfields right now in baseball. I can say that now. The Mets have one of the best defensive outfields in baseball with Granderson and Chris Young and Lagares or Eric Young Jr. I mean, Jesus Christ, this outfield defense is amazing. One of the best. I mean, wow. So, all I gotta say is this. Asdrubal Cabrera is set to make $10 million next year. Now, the Mets obviously can't add that contract alone. They can't do that. They gotta shed some payroll. Let's just be real. So, in order to get him, first of all, they would need to send a big piece. What's that piece? It's not going to be Ike Davis, guys. I'm sorry to say, it's not going to be Ike Davis. They don't need a first baseman in Cleveland, apparently. They got Nick Swisher at first base, you know, or you know, they don't want Ike Davis. This already came up in a discussion a couple days ago. I heard. I read online that they were trying to get the Mets were trying to get Cabrera, and they sent Ike Davis, and Cleveland said no, thank you. So what? They want Murphy, apparently. So give him fucking Daniel Murphy. You have a backup playing with Eric Young Jr. at second base. Who cares if the defense is not great? It's not like Murphy's defense is great anyway. But Cleveland clearly wants a bat. Then if they get Daniel Murphy, then they might slide him over to first base or use him as a DH or a super utility guy. They want that type of scrappy player, aggressive hitter who hits for average, and Murphy's completely that. So that still, I believe, won't cut it for the Mets to get a Cabrera. So what would you do? Just add Tejada just for a little sugar. You know, so they can have a shortstop now, because they're going to need a shortstop to get rid of Cabrera, obviously. They're not going to put Jason Kipnis at short. So you give him Tejada, and, you know, the Mets just need to part ways with Tejada. Just forget about him even starting. Get rid of the guy. And you shed his damn $1 million that he's making anyway. You shed that. Now, right there, Murphy's $5.1 million, and Tejada's $1 million. That's already $6.1 million you're shedding. So really, you're only signing you're only having Cabrera in a $4.1 million deal for a year, if you really think about it. That's amazing. You want to make this deal really realistic and really happen, that's when you throw in the pitcher. And what pitcher am I willing to let go of now? I'm not going to let go of Henry Mejia. I'm not going to let go of Montero. That's just, the Mets should not get Montero for Cabrera. You get rid of Dylan G. Because Dylan G is roughly making $3.5 million as well. If you get that package of Daniel Murphy, Dylan G, and Ruben Tejada for Asdrubal Cabrera, my God, you're getting Cabrera basically on $1 million difference. The Mets really, in that deal, they're paying $1 million because they're getting rid of $9 million in that deal, and they're adding 10. You do the math. 10 minus 9 is 1. So the Mets payroll after that deal would be at $83 million, 83.5 roughly. That's amazing. And that guy can easily bat 5th right behind Granderson. I don't see why the Mets don't do that. Now, what else do you do after that? You're not done yet. Now, Ike Davis is still there. I've heard rumors that Tampa Bay, Milwaukee, Pittsburgh, and what's the other team? Houston are the front runners for Ike Davis. Forget Houston. I don't want anything from Houston. I don't want pitching prospects. That's all I'm hearing. Let's get pitching prospects. Pitching prospects for Davis. We have enough pitching prospects. We don't need more pitching prospects, okay? And then in 2015, we're also going to have Hefner, by the way, that they just re-signed to a minor league deal. He's recovering from Tommy John surgery, so he's not going to pitch this year like Harvey. But in 2015, he'll be back as well. So that's more, that's more pitching. We don't need more pitching prospects. You either trade Ike Davis for another bat in the outfield, or you trade him for some relievers. Ideally, the Mets have money to spend on some low-end deal for the relievers, so I'd rather trade him for a bat. What bat can you possibly get for Ike Davis? I'm not going to go crazy and aim high, but I've heard this deal come into fruition before, and that was trading Ike Davis to Tampa Bay for Matt Joyce. Straight up. Just Davis for Joyce. If the Mets can somehow get that done, holy shit. I'm not saying Matt Joyce is the best outfield guy out there, and he's not the cheapest either. He's making $4 million roughly. But you're shedding Davis's $3 million to add Joyce's $4 million. That's only another $1 million difference. Basically, the Mets would be getting Cabrera and Joyce, two guys that can easily fit into the Mets' middle of the lineup, for $2 million in total. Are you kidding me? Obviously, that's with shedding, Murphy, G, Tejada, and Davis. But why wouldn't you do that? Get rid of Daniel Murphy, guys like Daniel Murphy and Ike Davis and Tejada and G. That's the old. We want new. Get Cabrera at short, and then if you add Matt Joyce, you can platoon him in right field now. You can, because he's not going to play center field. So, unfortunately, the odd man out would be Juan Lagares, because his bat is just not good enough right now. He needs another year of hitting. We know his defense is amazing, but we need him to hit for one more year, and maybe in 2015, when Chris Young is gone, he'll be ready to be in the lineup and start every day in center field for the Mets. Right now, he's not ready. I'm sorry, I love Juan Lagares, but realistically, he's not ready to start on the New York Mets, if the Mets want offense at least. So, you can slide over then Chris Young to center. Granderson will stay in left. And since Murphy's gone, I would have said I would have said Eric Young, but since Murphy's gone, you're gonna have to put Eric Young now at second base. That leaves right field open, Matt Joyce's position. You put Matt Joyce in right field to platoon. I'm not saying he's gonna start in right field all the time, but to put him to platoon with Juan Lagares, since that's the righty-lefty. Have him platoon with Juan Lagares, and the days that Juan Lagares starts, you put him in center and you put Chris Young in right. That's it. Simple as that. But ideally, Matt Joyce would start more games because he has a lot more pop. This guy can easily give you 15 to 18 home runs with 50 to 60 RBIs. I mean, that hitting 6th would be amazing for the Mets. So you can do that deal. The last two deals I'd say the Mets need to do, I've been hearing that they've been talking to guys like John Axford, Kevin Gregg. Another guy that's under the radar that the Mets should really try to consider picking up is Chris Perez. I've heard them trying to consider him as well. So if you can get two deals for John Axford and Chris Perez at $3.5 to $3 million each on their deals for the year, whether it's a 1-year deal or a 2-year deal, the Mets can get that done. So, guys, tell me what you think about that. Feel free to comment below. Subscribe to this channel, please, so I can keep giving you guys more information on the Mets and their offseason plans. And just feel free to argue against me if you want, or if you agree with what I'm saying. So that's it, and I'll come back with you guys with another video if you keep subscribing, and we'll see if the Mets do anything else. All right? So I'm Metallicaloid28, and I'm out.